And welcome back to CBS Sports HQ, presented by Penske, the official transportation partner of CBS Sports HQ. We are in Miami for the big game, the 11th time Miami has hosted a Super Bowl, the most in history. And why not? Because the temperatures here today are going to be in the 70s. Meanwhile, it is freezing in Kansas City and raining in San Francisco. So welcome to Radio Row, where we are bringing to you live Amanda Guerra, Danny Cannell, Ryan Wilson, Jason Lockenfora. We're going to get into the game, but I need to know before we get to that, who went to media night? Because John Breach was giving piggyback rides to players, and Jimmy G was telling people how to be handsome.
Yeah,
that's
exactly what happened. Breach thought he was going to pull it over on one of the players, and Breach is diminutive.
Yeah.
So if he's 5 feet, he's 5 feet.
He's short like me.
So he was asking players, can I get a piggyback ride? And one player said, no, but I'll be happy to ride your back. I think he was 6'4", 240. So Breach braced himself.
He did? He got him on?
2 steps, and then
he's done.
They wheeled him out of there.
All
Hope
right.
He's got good Cobra insurance.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers for John Breach.
Thoughts and prayers.
Okay, so we're going to do a quarterback breakdown here. We're going to go through both of them. We have an outstanding quarterback. We have a very good quarterback. Danny, I'm going to start with you with Patrick Mahomes because he's 24 years old, just incredible. But if you're the Chiefs' defense, what do you force him to do? Do you force him to throw it? Do you force him to run it?
I tell you what, I think it's one of those ones where you really have to pick your poison, and I think you try to pick your spots when you're going to try to take away different things. I mean, obviously, the best defense that you could have for Patrick Mahomes is rushing 4 and dropping 7 into coverage. So you can mix up coverages, you can disguise, and hopefully you get pressure with your front 4. But that's simply not going to be up. You're going to have to pick spots when you bring 5, 6, and even 7 rushers, do zone blitzes behind them, try to keep them confused. And I do think it is one of those games where you've got to take risks, and there are going to be big plays that you're going to say, you know what, we're going to take these, and if they hit them, so be it. But we're going to go for the jugular. We're going to go for that big turnover. We're going to go for that strip sack. But the mindset going in for the 49ers defense has to be patient. We're going to give up big plays. We're not going to pitch a shutout. Just kind of hang in there for that initial onslaught, with all that speed they're going to throw at you.
So I'm going to ask JLC this. Do you think we're looking at a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback here? Do you think there's anybody else that we can compare him to?
I think he's on that track. I mean, I sit there at the NFL Today. I watch these games every Sunday with Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason, and we've had a lot of games, Kansas City games on CBS, and we're sitting there, and like one day, Boomer's like, this kid's never had a bad game. Like, he's had some games where he's been average, but like the spectrum starts at like average and goes to transcendent. It doesn't, like the lever doesn't go to like bad, you know what I mean? Or like really bad. Like he just doesn't have stinkers. There's been times where maybe teams have thrown some zone looks at him, and he might kind of stumble for a quarter or two, but then at the end of the day, he's still an assassin. I think the one thing that San Francisco could do to mitigate things is get a pass rush with 4, sometimes even 3. And we've seen Tom Brady in his prime going against some of those Giants defenses. You can get pretty cute, and a guy like Steve Spagnuolo would know this from his time with the Giants and his time with the Eagles and being around people like Jim Johnson. I'm interested to see what they do, what can be done. Kansas City knows some of these things coming in because of those guys, but what do the San Francisco 49ers do if they are able to drop 8? And who are they bracketing? Because you can't double everybody, even at the end of the day. But no, Patrick Mahomes, look, he's going to be making $40 million a year sooner rather than later. And if he stays healthy, it's a transcendent talent.
And Ryan, I'm going to have another question for you in a second, but I just kind of want to get your opinion on this. What do you think the Chiefs can do?
Well, I mean, it starts with Patrick Mahomes, as JLC and Danny has talked about. I was talking to the 49ers defensive coach yesterday in terms of how do you go about even approaching this problem? And he said, listen, a lot of times you listen to the media, and we're guilty of it sometimes. All right, this team is out-scheming this other team. At the end of the day, and Danny, you can probably speak to this from your experience, 99% of the time, it's technique. You lose the line of scrimmage. It's the little things. So they have to try extra hard this week, and, trying isn't necessarily going to get it done, but to focus on those little things, make sure you're good in your technique, and you're doing the things to try to slow down at least Tyreek Hill and keep the 50-yard catch down to a 30-yard catch and try to make Patrick Mahomes make 15 throws on a drive if that's what it's going to take.
JLC brought up something, too. You can make great quarterbacks, look human with pressure. Tom Brady, there was an AFC Championship game in Denver. He got knocked around, had a bad game. Even this postseason, the Vikings were able to get after Drew Brees. He looked pedestrian. The problem is Those guys are statues in the pocket. Mahomes can run, and that terrifies every defensive coordinator because you could have the perfect defense dialed up. You could get, Bosa on the edge, beats his end man, but what happens? Mahomes scrambles out. You could even try to say, well, most quarterbacks, right-handed quarterbacks, you want to flush them to the left side. You can try to do that, but Mahomes has this rubber arm where he just throws it left, and it's no big deal.
Like throw it with his left hand.
Exactly.
He doesn't care.
Exactly. It's almost impossible to stop.
All right, let's move over to Jimmy Garoppolo. Jonathan Jones, he's here this week, and he's been with the 49ers for a while, and he said that Jimmy G, jokingly was getting texts from his friends like, hey, man, like, is your arm not working? Like, what are you doing? He's not throwing the ball. Kyle Shanahan was asked about that. He said, you know what, because the run's working, and that's why we did it. But in this game specifically, is he going to have to throw it, or can they get away with the run? And I guess I think he's all of you.
I think he's going to have to throw it in this game. I don't picture a game plan where they're going to have to shut out the Chiefs. First of all, I don't think they're going to have that luxury, even though their defense is incredible. And I think this whole Jimmy Garoppolo as a game manager is a bunch of garbage. I mean, I've watched him play the Saints game, which where there was a 48-46 shootout. And he put up 349 yards passing, had 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and the game-winning drive on the road. Just because he hasn't done it recently doesn't mean that it's not in him. So the whole thing, and I get it because they only threw it 8 times, but they were gashing him. And I credit to Kyle Shanahan for not feeling pressure. Oh, I better get 15 attempts just to get my quarterback looks. No, he doesn't care how it looks. He just wants to win. So I think it's befuddling to me how people just don't give Jimmy Garoppolo any credit.
Yeah, I think it'll be a completely different game plan. I think Kyle Shanahan, as much as he loves his defense and trusts his defense, you can have a great day against Mahomes and they still put up 28. I think Kyle is going into this saying, how do I get to 30 first? And I think he throws to try to get there and then lean on that run game, then really soften them up in the second half. I think you'll see a lot of first down throws. But I was talking to Kyle Juszczyk, their Pro Bowl fullback this week, who I've got to know a little bit over the years, and I'm like, dude, let me in just a little bit. And he's like, all I'll say is go watch the film of when this cat was throwing for 404 TDs against some pretty good defenses. Like, horses for courses. We understand the challenge in this game, and we love our defense, but this is probably not going to be a 17-16 game. So I think you will see a lot of Kittle early. I think you'll see a lot of Emmanuel Sanders early. I think they'll play games with Juszczyk and use him a lot as a matchup mismatch in the pass game early. And when they want to go heavy, when they want to run outside zones, and you know it's coming, and you still can't stop it. I think they could get to that point, but they're going to throw to get there.
Yeah, no, I think JLC's right now, but I still do wonder if it's going to be fewer than 25 passes, somewhere around there. And we talked about this on the Pick Six Pod, live every day at 2 p.m. here on CBS Sports HQ. Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback in the whole. We've had that conversation forever. Bob Greasy had a lot of success with the Dolphins, not throwing the football very often, leaning on that running game. Yes, that was 40 years ago, but I think it's something that we could see as a blueprint, although I do think that at some point Jimmy G is going to have to throw the ball.
We got about 45 seconds left, and Danny, I want to ask you this. Was Jimmy Garoppolo, we waited a long time to see him, was he the difference for this team?
I think so. I mean, look how bad they were when he was hurt. I mean, this team is built perfect, and I think the personality of this team is very unselfish too, where Garoppolo doesn't even care that he is not throwing the ball very much, and I think that's the biggest compliment you can play them. So I think, yeah, I mean, the quarterback is the most important position in the game, so he's absolutely a big reason why they're here.
All right, you guys, thank you so much. We are here on Radio Row. We're going to be back in just a little bit, but send it back to you, Tommy.
Amanda, Danny, Ryan, JLC, thank you very much. I love R-Dub already promoting the Pick Six podcast. Let me just add the hype man portion of this. They're there every day. They got a show at 2 p.m. Guest lists including Tariq Cohen, the Griffin brothers, Jamal Adams, and Saquon Barkley. That's just tomorrow from Radio Row.